Joining us now to break down the top headlines is Dennard, a GOP commentator and the senior communications advisor for Black Media Affairs for the Trump campaign. Paris, the big day on Saturday, it came and went. The speech itself, I mean, the turnout was the story headline that we saw a lot on the cable news networks, but the viewership numbers were also astronomical. I mean, I was watching YouTube at one point, and 1 million people were tuning in just on YouTube alone. What were the big takeaways for you this past weekend?
Well, first of all, the enthusiasm is there for the president. That was my first rally. I was really excited to be there. What I was most impressed by was the fact that by the time the show starts, if you will, for the primetime audience, the viewing audience, around 7 p.m., 8 p.m., depending where you were, those people that were in that room, those patriots in the BOK Center, had either stood in line for days or been out there for hours, some upwards to 8 to 10 hours. And the energy and the enthusiasm, the excitement was electrifying. These people are true patriots. They are dedicated. They are committed to this president. To think the energy that I did not have sitting there, and these people were on their feet. I met a World War II veteran. I met a 23-year-old Black American who's voting for the president because of the jobs and the economy that he has and his mother, his single mother has. This was a fantastic event. And when you talked about the viewership, over 10.1 million people tuned in, excluding the viewership on the television across all of the social media and online platforms. That's enthusiasm. When you look at that coupled with the fact that we are ahead, meaning the RNC and the campaign by over 100 million cash on hand over the DNC and Joe Biden, it shows you the enthusiasm is on our side. And so I was just impressed by the wide variety, the diversity of the crowd, the enthusiasm of the crowd, of the thousands that were there who sacrificed a lot, pushed through a lot, protesters, the mainstream media talking about COVID-19 when they had ignored it for weeks on end. And people really showed up, and it was a good thing. And I'm glad that the president was there and spoke for well over an hour, longer than he was scheduled to.
And even on Saturday night, for people who weren't tuning in, it was something that everybody was talking about. And I think that's something, too, that will be big, the same way that it was in 2016 when these rallies were very successful, as well as 2018 to some degree, too. But when we're focusing on just the president, these are more than just a rally. They're an event. And the fact that we're still talking about it now 48 hours later is a testament to that very idea. But a big part of the headlines, as I was mentioning before, was the turnout factor. And some people have blamed that on protesters. Some people have blamed that on TikTok ads, things of that nature. But I think it's also worth mentioning that even the crowd that did come out is still a pretty impressive crowd for a presidential race 5 months out of the general election. So looking at what we learned from this past weekend, what can the Trump campaign use moving forward in order to maybe make adjustments in the future?
Look, I think all of those things were relevant in terms of why, or factors as to why people did not turn out in the numbers that were RSVP'd. You know, if I RSVP'd, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to show up. So I think there's a variety of factors. The mainstream media certainly did not help making it feel like it was unsafe to attend the Trump rally. I think moving forward, we're going to continue to have our very strong and very successful online presence with our Trump online programming and the Black Voices for Trump Real Talks online, which we'll be having shortly and reviewing again. And when we are in person and having the rallies happening in Phoenix tomorrow, the president's team is going to make sure that people feel safe. There were temperature checks. Masks were provided if they wanted to use them, and hand sanitizer. If you're able to go to the grocery store, be able to go to Walmart, if you're able to protest, you're able to riot and loot and burn down communities without the mainstream media being concerned about COVID-19, then surely with the precautions that we put in place, along with common sense. Look, if you're sick, if you're elderly, if you have some immune issues, don't go to the rally. But if you're healthy, you want to take the responsibility, and you feel that you can be safe, and you have the mask, and you practice social distancing on a regular basis, come out to the rally, enjoy yourself, have a lot of fun, and hear exactly what the president plans to do for the American people. Or you could just be like Joe Biden and sit in your basement, refuse to come out and insult people the whole time that you're supposed to be campaigning. I think the American people want more. I think the American people want to hear from the president. I think the American people want to see the president. And I think thousands are going to continue to come out to see him everywhere that he turns out. And on smaller events, we're going to continue to have small events as well, one-on-one engagements and smaller things with all of our coalitions. Black Voices for Trump and Women for Trump. We're going to have both in-person and smaller online events. So it's an exciting time for the campaign. It's a holistic approach. Online, in person, large, small, we're going to turn out the vote to win.
And I think that is an important point, too, is the idea that the Trump campaign is really just getting started as far as the president goes. I mean, the Biden campaign has been doing their things, as we were saying, digital, viral type of meet and greet type things and press conferences like that from his basement, as you were saying. But this was really the first big campaign thing that the president's engaged in. So I think you're right to say that this is the beginning and there's only upwards to go from here because, I mean, the rally, as we were just talking about, that's one facet, but it's just getting kick-started as well. But Paris Dennard, I appreciate you coming on tonight, breaking down the weekend's top headlines. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.